Logan Foster froze just as he reached for his coffee, his name barely leaving the barista's lips when he heard his own name being dragged through the mud 2 tables away. "I'm just saying, if I had $1 billion, I wouldn't be so heartless," a man sneered, loud enough for everyone at the cafe to hear. "Logan Foster's just another rich guy who probably steps on people to stay rich." Logan turned, sunglasses still on, and watched the guy smugly sip his latte like he'd just dropped some profound truth. He was used to it. People had opinions, and most of the time they were wrong. He was used to ignoring them. What he wasn't used to was what happened next. "That's not true," a woman said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the noise of the cafe. "You're just repeating what the media throws at you. You don't know him." Logan's eyes flicked toward her. She was sitting at the next table over, a half-eaten kvass on her plate, a sketchpad open beside her. Her dark curls were pinned up in a messy bun, and she wore jeans with paint stains on them like they were designer. She looked like she didn't have a filter, and from the way she leaned forward, eyes blazing, she wasn't backing down. "He's a tech founder, not a warlord," she continued. "He built his company from scratch and employs thousands. Just because he doesn't do constant interviews doesn't mean he's some villain. Maybe he just doesn't want to perform for people like you." Logan blinked. No one ever defended him like that, especially not in public, especially not strangers. The guy grumbled something and got up, clearly not interested in arguing with someone who clearly wasn't going to let him win. The woman turned back to her sketchpad like nothing happened. Logan stood frozen for another second, then took his coffee and walked straight past the empty corner booth he usually took. Instead, he stopped at her table. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. She looked up, surprised. Her eyes were this stormy gray, like they couldn't decide whether to be silver or blue. "You're not the guy I just destroyed, are you?" she asked, eyeing him. He laughed. "No, just a guy impressed by how thoroughly you destroyed him." She smiled slightly. "Sure. You can sit." He slid into the seat across from her. "I'm Logan," she blinked. "Logan, like Logan Foster." He took off his sunglasses. "Yeah," her mouth dropped open. "Wait, you were standing right there, you heard that." "Every word," he said. "I've never seen someone defend me like that. Especially not someone who doesn't know me." She looked embarrassed now, rubbing the back of her neck. "Wow, I didn't mean to. I didn't know you were even here. And yet, you still stood up for me," she shrugged. "Someone had to." "What's your name?" he asked. "Mira Prescott," he smiled. "Nice to meet you, Mira Prescott." She tilted her head. "You're awfully calm for someone who just got outed in a cafe." "I'm used to it, but I'm not used to people like you." She bit her lip, clearly unsure what to say to that. "Well, you're welcome, I guess." He leaned forward. "What do you do, Mira?" "I'm an artist. I paint, draw, illustrate. Mostly freelance, some gallery stuff. Trying to survive in the city without selling my soul." He grinned. "Sounds like you're doing a better job of that than I am." She smiled again, more relaxed this time. "So, what are you doing here? Don't billionaires have private baristas or something?" "I like real coffee made by someone who doesn't work for me," he said. "And I needed a walk." They talked for 20 more minutes, about art, about coffee, about the city. She didn't treat him like a billionaire. She didn't ask about his money or his company or how much he made last year. She talked to him like a person, like he was just Logan. And Logan couldn't stop looking at her. When she finally packed up her sketchpad and stood, he stood too. "I gotta get to my studio," she said, "but thanks for sitting with me." "Can I see your work sometime?" he asked. She blinked. "Yeah, you want to," he nodded. "Very much." She took a piece of paper from her bag, scribbled something down, and handed it to him. "This is where my studio is. I'm usually there afternoons." He took it. "I'll come by." "Okay," she said, smiling again. "See you, Logan." He watched her walk away, her paint-stained jeans brushing against worn sneakers, her curls bouncing behind her. Logan had walked into the cafe to get caffeine and escape a boardroom meeting. He walked out thinking about her instead. 3 days later, he showed up at her studio. She looked surprised but happy. He stayed for hours, asking questions about her paintings, listening to her stories. He bought 3 pieces without blinking. "You didn't even ask how much they cost," she said. "I didn't need to," he replied. Over the next 2 weeks, Logan kept coming back, sometimes with coffee, sometimes with takeout, once with a brand new easel after seeing her struggling with her broken one. "You don't need to keep buying your way in," she told him, arms crossed. "I'm not," he said. "I just like being here." And he did. More than anything, he liked watching her paint, hearing her thoughts about the world, seeing her face light up when she talked about things she loved. He hadn't felt this drawn to someone in years, maybe ever. But one night, as they sat on the floor of her studio eating Chinese food out of cartons, she asked, "Why me?" He blinked. "What do you mean? You're a billionaire. You could be with anyone. Why are you here with me?" He put his food down. "Because you didn't care that I was a billionaire," he said. "You defended me before you knew who I was. You talk to me like I'm just me, and when I'm with you, I actually feel like I am." She looked at him, quiet for a moment. "I don't want to be some charity case," she finally said. "You're not," he said firmly. "You're the only real thing I've had in a long time." The silence between them stretched, thick and charged. Then she leaned in, and he kissed her. It was slow at first, gentle, but it didn't stay that way for long. When they finally pulled apart, her breathing was uneven. "Okay," she whispered. "That felt real." "It is," he said. "You are." And he meant every word. Mira's brush hovered over the canvas, her wrist twitching with indecision. She hadn't painted in 2 days, a record for her. The piece in front of her was a swirling mess of color and emotion, but she couldn't seem to finish it. Not since Logan kissed her. She'd meant to draw boundaries. She always did. Men with power came with fine print, but Logan didn't move like someone playing a game. He wasn't trying to impress her with money. He was showing up with questions, curiosity, and a quiet attentiveness that made her feel like the only person in the room. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was teetering on the edge of something too big, too fast. The door to her studio creaked open. "You left this in my car last night," Logan said, stepping inside and holding up a small, zippered pouch of brushes. Mira lowered her arm. "I was wondering where those went." "You were distracted," he said, placing them gently on her supply table. "I wasn't," she replied, reaching for them. "I just didn't realize I dropped them." He looked around the studio, eyes scanning the unfinished canvases. "You haven't touched that one since I last saw it." "I've been thinking," she said, not turning around. "Trying to figure out what it's supposed to be." "Maybe it already is what it's supposed to be," he said. Mira glanced over her shoulder. "That's not how this works." He stepped closer, stopping just short of her easel. "How does it work?" She rested her brush on the edge of the table and faced him fully. "You build something out of chaos, and sometimes the chaos doesn't want to cooperate." Logan tilted his head slightly. "Sounds familiar." "Is that what running a billion-dollar company feels like?" He chuckled. "Some days, only with more lawyers." That made her laugh, really laugh for the first time that day. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her. "I could bring dinner, something good, not takeout this time." "Is this a bribe to get me to finish the painting?" "No," he said. "It's a bribe to get you to take a break." She studied him. "You're serious?" "I have a reservation at a place that won't let me in if I wear sneakers," he said. "I thought it might be easier to ask if I already had the table." Mira narrowed her eyes. "I don't own anything that fits that kind of place. You will by the time we get there." "You're not buying me a dress," she said immediately. "I'm not," he replied, "but I might ask a friend who owns a boutique to lend you something." "Just until dinner's over." "I knew it," she said, raising an eyebrow. "You do have billionaire tricks." "I have friends who owe me favors," he said. "And I don't like seeing you frown at your canvas for hours without eating." She hesitated. "You can say no," he added. "I won't take it personally." "That's not the problem," she said. "The problem is I don't know what happens if I say yes." He stepped forward. "Then say yes and find out." She held his gaze for a long moment before finally nodding. "Fine, just dinner," he smiled. "Just dinner?" 2 hours later, Mira stepped out of the boutique dressing room wearing a deep burgundy gown with an open back and asymmetrical neckline. The fabric clung to her like it had been made for her body. She felt like she'd borrowed someone else's life for the evening. Logan was already waiting near the front, dressed in a charcoal gray suit with subtle detailing and a dark tie. His gaze locked on her the second she emerged. He started, then stopped. "You look like you belong somewhere people whisper about when they think no one's listening," she blinked. "That's oddly poetic." "I've been spending too much time around artists," he said. She walked toward him, still adjusting the fine straps of the dress. "This is temporary, right?" "I'm giving it back," he offered his arm. "Absolutely. Right after dessert." The car that picked them up wasn't a car, it was a black sedan with tinted windows and a driver who opened the door with a nod. Mira said nothing as they slid into the backseat, but her fingers curled inward slightly on her lap. "You okay?" Logan asked. "I just feel like I'm wearing someone else's skin." "It looks like yours to me," he said quietly. Dinner was at a rooftop restaurant nestled between two towers in Midtown, the kind of place where the air smelled like citrus, and the lights were dimmed just enough to make everyone look like they had secrets. Mira didn't speak much at first. She watched him interact with the hostess, the waiter, the sommelier. He was effortless but not arrogant, commanding without being cold. He didn't order for her or show off his knowledge of wine. He asked what she wanted. He listened. Halfway through the meal, she leaned forward. "You're not what I expected." "How so?" he asked. "I thought you'd be polished, distant, maybe a little self-absorbed. And I'm none of those. You're polished, but you're not hiding behind it, and you're not distant. You're focused." He tilted his head. "On you?" "Yes," she said. "And that's unnerving." He set down his fork. "I don't play games, Mira. I know, that's what makes this dangerous." They were quiet for a beat before he spoke again. "When I was 21, I lost my brother," he said. "Car accident, he was 2 years older than me. I was the one driving." Mira blinked, startled. "Logan." "I don't tell people that," he said. "I don't tell anyone that, but you asked what happens if you say yes to dinner. That's what happens. You get the whole story." She reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. "You blame yourself every day. You shouldn't." "I know," he said, "but that doesn't stop me." She didn't let go of his hand. "You didn't have to tell me that." "I wanted to," he replied. "You're not the only one who feels like they're wearing someone else's skin." Mira didn't speak again until the plates had been cleared, and the city lights flickered below them like restless stars. As they stood near the railing, the wind teasing her hair free from its clip, Logan stepped behind her. "I don't know what this is," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "but I'm not ready to walk away from it." "Good," he said, resting his hand gently on her waist. "Because I was never going to let you." And for the first time in a long time, Mira didn't want to run. The downpour started just as Logan stepped out of his car in front of Mira's building. Rain slashed sideways at the windows, clinging to the collar of his coat as he pushed through it, ignoring the water soaking through his shoes. He hadn't planned to come over tonight, but Mira hadn't answered his last call, and something about the silence had settled wrong in his chest. When she opened the door, barefoot in leggings and a faded t-shirt, her hair damp from the open windows, her eyes widened. "You're soaked." "You didn't answer," he said, stepping inside. "I got worried. I was painting. Lost track of time." He glanced past her at the large canvas propped up against the wall. It was bold, unfinished, and nothing like what he'd seen from her before. "You've been working on that, trying to," she said. "It's not cooperating." He moved closer to it, studying the jagged brushstrokes. "It's angry. It's honest," she corrected. "Things have been tangled lately." The room was warm, but something in her tone chilled him. He turned to her fully. "What happened?" She folded her arms, leaning against the doorframe. "Someone from your world came by the studio today." His brows pulled together. "Who?" "A woman named Celine. She said she works for a gallery that's funded by one of your holding companies." He didn't move. What did she want? She offered me a solo show. She said she's been following my work for months but somehow forgot to reach out until now. Logan's jaw went tight. That wasn't me, I figured, but it doesn't matter. It does. She made it sound like she was doing me a favor. Like I should be grateful your name opened a door I didn't knock on. He stepped toward her. You think I'm trying to buy your success? I think you don't realize how much weight your name carries, she said. And I think people around you are starting to pull strings without asking. He ran a hand through his hair, still damp. I'll fix it. Don't, she said quickly. Don't call in favors or cancel meetings or make quiet donations to make this go away. I don't want to be a project. You're not. I'm serious, Logan. I need to get where I'm going on my own. I know, he said. That's why I came here, not to fix anything, but because I wanted you to know I didn't ask anyone to do that. I would never disrespect your work like that. She looked at him for a long while, her shoulders finally easing. I believe you. He crossed the room and took her hand. I want this to be real, he said. It is, she whispered. That's what makes it terrifying. She didn't pull away as he drew her closer, his forehead resting lightly against hers. The rain drummed steadily against the windows, the world outside blurring into mist. In here it was quiet, steady, like standing still inside a storm. Eventually, she pulled back just slightly. There's an art fair this weekend. I submitted a piece last month. It got in. His face softened. That's incredible. I wasn't going to tell you. I didn't want you to feel like you had to come. I don't feel like I have to. I want to, she hesitated, then gave a small nod. Okay, I'll be there. That Saturday, the fair buzzed with energy. Rows of white tents lined the park, the air filled with the scent of roasted nuts and fresh paint. Mira's booth was near the center, tucked between a ceramicist from Brooklyn and a photographer specializing in long exposures of subway tunnels. Her painting, a fierce, abstract piece titled Inheritance, hung boldly against the canvas wall. People stopped. They asked questions. Mira answered them all, her voice steady, her words clear. Logan watched from a quiet distance for the first hour, sunglasses on, hands in his pockets. No one recognized him. It was better that way. Then a man approached her booth, tall and sharply dressed, with the kind of posture that screamed boardroom. He studied the painting, then turned to Mira. You're the artist? I am, she said. I represent an international gallery based in Berlin. We're scouting for a fall rotation. This piece has potential. Logan could see the way her fingers tightened around the edge of the table. I appreciate the interest, she said evenly. Do you have representation? No. Then let's talk. She glanced at Logan just once, then turned back to the man. Before we do, I'd like to know how you heard about me, he blinked. One of our partners forwarded a portfolio, said you were connected to Logan Foster. Mira's smile didn't waver. I see. Logan stepped forward then, removing his sunglasses. The man's expression shifted. She's not connected to me professionally, Logan said. And if that's the reason you came, I suggest you walk away. The man opened his mouth, then seemed to think better of it. He gave a curt nod and disappeared into the crowd. Mira didn't speak for a long moment. You didn't have to step in, she said quietly. No, Logan replied. But that wasn't about you. That was about someone using my name to take shortcuts, and I'm not letting that happen. She looked at him. It's going to keep happening, isn't it? Probably, he admitted. But that doesn't mean you have to accept it. She took a breath, then turned back to her painting. Then I guess I'll just keep making work that speaks louder than your name, he smiled, not because she was trying to be clever, but because she wasn't. She meant it. That night, as they stood beside the empty booth, Mira wrapped the painting in craft paper and tape. Logan crouched to help, careful not to press the edges. This was the first time I showed something angry, she said. It was honest, he replied. She glanced at him. You said that before. Then maybe I'm learning something about art, she laughed softly. You're learning something about me. He stood and reached for her hand. I don't want to be a shadow over your work, he said. Tell me how to do this right. She squeezed his fingers. You already are. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. The silence between them had changed. not empty, not uncertain, just full of understanding, a different kind of intimacy. As they walked away from the fair, Mira carrying the painting under one arm and Logan holding an umbrella over both of them, neither said what they were thinking. But it was there in the way they walked in step, in the way their hands brushed and didn't pull away. Something was building between them, and neither of them wanted to stop it. The gallery was quiet but not empty. Mira stood in the center of the space, surrounded by her own work, 10 pieces, each chosen by her, each arranged in a way that made the room feel like it was breathing. The walls were white, the lighting warm and deliberate. Her name was printed in elegant black letters on the entrance plaque. No mention of Logan, no corporate sponsors, just her. She hadn't invited him tonight. This was a private viewing for curators and collectors before the official opening the next day. Her agent had insisted. Mira had agreed, but only on the condition that she controlled the room, the guest list, and the story. So when Logan walked in wearing a dark navy suit with no tie, his shirt collar open, his expression unreadable, her pulse skipped, she met him halfway across the gallery. "I asked them not to tell me if you were coming," she said. "I waited until the last hour. Figured that gave you time to be anyone you needed to be before I showed up." Her fingers flexed at her sides. "This isn't your world, I know," he said, "but I wanted to see the one you built." She gestured around them. "This is mine. I can tell," he said, stepping closer to a painting near the far wall. It was layered with earth tones and sharp lines, the texture raw and deliberate. He studied it for a long moment. "This one's different. It's called Fault Line. I painted it after the fair." He turned to her. "Because of me, partly," she said. "It's about things shifting under your feet, how sometimes you don't realize you're standing on something unstable until it cracks." His eyes stayed on hers. "And did it?" "No," she said. "But I thought it might." He nodded once, slowly. They walked the room together but didn't speak again until they reached the last piece, a quiet abstract of overlapping silhouettes in muted navy and gold. "This one doesn't feel like the others," he said. "It isn't," she replied. "It's called After Rain." He looked at her. "That night in my apartment," she nodded, his voice lowered. "You painted this for me?" "No," she said. "I painted it because of you. There's a difference." He exhaled. "Do you want me to leave?" "I don't know." He stepped beside her, not touching her, not pushing. "I want to be part of your life without overshadowing it." She glanced at the painting. "Then don't try to protect me from everything. Let me fight for myself." "I will," he said. "But I'll still be beside you." Her voice was quieter now. "I've spent so long proving I didn't need someone." "I don't want to be someone you need," he said. "I want to be someone you choose." She turned to him fully. "Then stop waiting for permission." He paused, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, square envelope. He handed it to her. She opened it slowly. Inside was a plain ticket. "One way, Florence." "There's a residency program there," he said. "I called in a favor to find out if they had any open slots. They did. I didn't use your name. I didn't even tell them mine." She looked up. "You applied for me." "I sent them your work, that's all. No introductions, no strings. They accepted it, the letters in your email." She blinked. "You didn't even ask me if I wanted to go to Italy." "You don't have to," he said. "But I thought if you did, you should have the chance." She stared at him, heart thudding. "And if I go?" she asked. "Then I'll wait," he said. "Or I'll come with you, you get to decide." She swallowed. "You'd really do that?" "I've spent most of my life chasing things that don't feel like anything once I catch them," he said. "But this you makes me feel like I can breathe again. You matter more than the timing, a beat past." "I hate that I love you for this," she whispered. He smiled, but it wasn't playful, it was reverent. "You love me," she didn't look away. "Yeah, I do." The room fell away. The paintings, the lights, the hushed murmurs of the last few guests, none of it existed anymore, not for either of them. He stepped in, his hand finding her waist gently, the other brushing her jaw. "Say it again," she leaned in. "I love you." Then he was kissing her, not in the way they had before, not tentative or searching. This was different, this was grounded, certain. A promise wrapped in breath and warmth, and everything neither of them had dared to name until now, when they finally pulled apart. She rested her forehead against his. "If I go to Florence, I want you there." "I'll book the flight," he said. "No suits," she added. "No expectations," he answered. She grinned. "You'll be terrible at being part of a bohemian artist commune. I'll bring espresso." She laughed, for real this time, and it echoed through the emptying gallery. They left together, her hand in his, the envelope tucked in her pocket like a secret she no longer had to protect alone. Outside, the rain had stopped. The city glistened. And for the first time in years, Mira wasn't running from something, she was running toward it. Toward him, toward them. The narrow streets of Florence glowed under the late spring sun, their cobblestones warm beneath Mira's sandals as she walked through the archway of the studio courtyard. It had been 3 weeks since she arrived. 3 weeks of language she didn't quite understand, espresso that tasted stronger than anything back home, and days filled with light that hit her canvases differently than any city ever had before. But none of it compared to watching Logan walk through the open gate that afternoon, carrying a paper bag with 2 folded slices of sciaxiata bread and a bottle of something sparkling and local. "You found it," she said, still holding a brush in one hand, her apron streaked with cadmium red and ultramarine. "You sent directions," he replied. "I followed them." "You hate following directions." "I hate getting lost more," he said, stepping forward and kissing her cheek just above the curve of her jaw. "Besides, this was worth it. You brought bread. And something fizzy that may or may not be classified as wine," he added, handing her the bag. "I figured you wouldn't stop to eat unless I bribed you." She pulled off her apron and tossed it onto a stool. "I've been working on something." He looked around the open-air studio where a larger canvas leaned against a stone wall. "That one," she nodded. He stepped closer, studying the piece. It was layered in soft, muted-toned shades of lavender, moss, and ivory, and it radiated a kind of quiet joy that he hadn't seen in her work before. "This feels lighter," he said. "It is," she replied, joining him. "It's called landing." He turned to her. "As in?" "As in, this is the first time I've felt like I'm not falling anymore." She didn't have to explain. He understood. And for once, there were no outside voices, no undercurrents of influence or suspicion, no one trying to use her proximity to him as currency. They were just 2 people in a city where no one cared who they were, only what they created. They ate on the balcony of her small apartment that evening, the sun setting over terracotta rooftops. Logan had traded his suit jackets for linen shirts and rolled sleeves. He'd stopped checking his phone every hour. He'd even started sketching badly just to understand the rhythm of her days. "You're different here," she said, watching him sip from his glass. "I don't have to be anyone here," he replied. "No meetings, no press. No expectations." "Do you miss it?" she asked. "I thought I would." "And I don't," he said. "Turns out I like waking up without a calendar. I like watching you paint while I burn toast. I like this life." She tilted her head. "You're not just saying that because I let you sleep in past 8 for the first time in your adult life. I'm saying it because I've never felt more at peace than I do here. With you," she studied him for a long moment. "You'd really give it all up." He set down his glass. "I already did. I stepped down last week, sold my remaining shares. The board thinks I'm reckless. Maybe I am. But I'd rather build something new with you than manage something that doesn't feel like mine anymore." Mira blinked. "You didn't tell me." "I wanted to see if this felt real when it was quiet," he said. "It does." She reached across the table, lacing her fingers through his. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet. I've got time to figure it out." "And you're okay with that?" He smiled gently. "I am now." Later that night, they walked along the Arno, the river catching the moonlight in soft ripples. Mira leaned her head against his shoulder as they stopped near the Ponte Vecchio, the old bridge glowing gold in the dark. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't defended you that day in the café?" she asked. "Every day," he said, "and every day I'm glad you did." "I almost didn't, but you did," he said. You saw me when no one else did. She turned to face him, her eyes reflecting the low lights from the bridge. You made it easy to see. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, flat box. Her breath caught. You're not, she began. I'm not asking you to marry me, he said quickly. Not yet, this isn't that, she relaxed, then smiled. Then what is it? He opened the box. Inside was a delicate gold pendant on a thin chain. It was shaped like a paintbrush, its handle engraved with a small, looping L. I had it made, he said. I just wanted you to have something that reminded you what you gave me, she looked up. Which is, he stepped closer, myself. You gave me back the version of me I lost a long time ago. Her throat tightened as she lifted the necklace from the box. It's beautiful. So are you, he said. But you already knew that. She leaned in, kissed him soft and slow like the first stroke of a brush on a fresh canvas. They walked home hand in hand, past shuttered cafes and sleeping statues, the city around them fading into a blur of old stone and warm silence. 2 months later, Mira's work was accepted into a permanent collection in Rome. Logan opened a nonprofit incubator for young creatives who had talent but no access. They moved into a sunlit studio apartment overlooking the Santa Croce, filled with unfinished canvases, open sketchbooks, and the scent of fresh basil from the window boxes. He cooked. She painted. They argued about color palettes and stovetop heat settings and what counted as a proper lunch. They made up every time before sunset, and in the quiet of the mornings when the light crept through the shutters and painted the walls in gold, Logan would wake up, roll toward her, and whisper the same words against her shoulder. I'd choose you again. She never stopped saying it back.